Hey everyone, it is your host Damien here from Hybrid Heroes, and this is the HYROX Heroes podcast, where we talk everything that you need to know when it comes to getting ready for your next HYROX race. Excited to have you here, and let's get into the episode. We're going to dive into a really important topic. Now, this is something that I deal with on a daily basis when talking to people, not only online, but in our training app, people that we train, people at the gym, everywhere. I see it all the time. It is a daily conversation, and it is the conversation about burnout that leads to poor performance and even injury. So this could be you. Are you someone, right, that is excited about all this HYROX and hybrid training? And so you should be. It's a very exciting space, and there's very exciting people in this space. So what does that mean? It means there is no shortage of opportunities to train or to do something that's going to help your training. I'm talking long run, fast run, strength training, HYROX training, station training. There is always something that we feel like we should be doing. But what this can lead to, right, and this is a huge problem in this space, is it leads to burnout. Now, why is it burning out? We're going to dive into that throughout today. So if you're someone that does feel like you are burning out, you are hanging on, you feel like just training is super tough all the time, and you're going to see this with signs of like low mood, irritation, even like you're going to find lack of purpose. You're going to just have a lot of like mentally challenging days. And if you're someone that wants to do a HYROX and is in this hybrid space, there's a good chance that you like challenging things, and you believe, and it's a strong value of yours, that to do hard things is important, because it creates resilience. You need discipline. You need to not shy away from the hardness. But when does this become an actual negative, right? And when we are thinking of HYROX as a sport and training hard towards your race, is this the smartest approach? Is the approach of just doing more, like pushing through, dealing with it, and really just trying to find not really like the limit of your performance, but the limit of your tolerance? Like, what can your body handle? What can your body tolerate? And it's because, and again, we're going to dive right into this in today's episode, but a lot of people are just unsure, right? They're unsure on how to train, how to structure, what they need to prioritize, and even measuring, am I actually making the progress, right? And because we're doing it in ways that we're not really accurate with our intentions, our design, we're just doing more and more and more, then we have to always take this like this guess approach, and just this approach of, well, if I just do a lot, then I should make some improvements. It's the hard way, right? It's the hard way. And if you truly want to do good, if you truly want to be a great athlete, if you truly want to do HYROX, and, you know, so really it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're really on. You could be someone that's like, I want to do really well from a, you know, performance point of view. Well, then it would be really naive not to approach it with more intelligence, right? Not just throwing yourself at training and doing more. You really need to go, I need to do well. So I need to structure my training well. All my activities, my sleep, my nutrition, everything needs to, you know, be as best as it can, you know, to then achieve my best result. Or you could be on the other side of the fence. You could be someone that's like, look, HYROX is not my entire life. I don't need to be an athlete. I don't need to make the podium. I want to do it for fun. I want to be involved. I want to do all of those things. So then this is the other side of it, where it's like, well, exactly. If this is the reason why you want to do it, then you don't need to break yourself and push yourself and throw yourself too hard at it. We can just simplify your training approach, right? So that it is in line with your outcome. So, you know, you don't need to train 6 days a week and do all these hard things. You just need, again, a simple design that's going to work with you. So all the other things in your life, like your job, your relationships, and other priorities, don't need to sacrifice or will get hindered because of, you know, the, overtraining and abusing your body in that sense, which then can have negative effect into other areas of your life. So it's very common with a lot of people. And why we see this, like there's a lot of people who even sign up for HYROX. There's a massive dropout rate. People don't even get to the day. Like, so this is not only a problem for HYROX, they're selling tickets and not everyone's actually going there and competing. But, we see this in gyms where people start a program, they drop off. And why is this? It's because they get over-motivated. They then approach training in unsustainable ways. And then this gives them the taste that, oh, is this what it is? This is hard. I can't do this. It's really challenging. But it's like, of course, because we've gone at it, the wrong way. So we're gonna talk about all of this in today's episode. So buckle in, because this could be you, and we're gonna come out of it with some clear action steps about it. So why burnout happens so often in HYROX? Again, we did touch on it a lot, but new athletes, right? Not one of the biggest reasons is they get too excited. And when they get too excited, volume, intensity, it increases, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with volume and intensity increasing. It's part of making progress, but too quickly, okay? Too quickly. So if you're listening to this, someone out there is probably like, yeah, that's me, 100%. You're too quick. You're too eager, right? And what does then, right? What is then the appropriate pace to that, right? Well, the appropriate pace to that is just a little bit extra, right? A little bit more. So if we say like a percentage, 5 to 10% a week is huge, right? But that is a little bit more. Where some people are going from 2 sessions to 4 sessions, right? That is like 100% increase. So, or some people are running 5 kilometers and now they're going out running 10 kilometers. And it doesn't seem like enormous when you're that person that, oh, HYROX is 8K, I'm running 5, I'm going to start stretching myself. But what does a 10% increase on a 5K run actually mean? It means run 500 meters more, right? Even to run an extra kilometer more is actually a significant increase in a week, right? So if we were going 5 to 10% each week, that's 5 kilometers. So then you're going 5.5, and then next week you're going, let's call it a 6. Next week after that, you're going to 6.5. Next week you're going to 7, right? Even though that percentage is going down as the volume goes up. But you can see there, over 4 weeks, we've been able to put 2 extra kilometers into your training, into your volume. That would be a reasonable pace over 4 weeks. And if we did that over another 4 weeks, just kept the same pace, right? So that's why it's 5 to 10%. Then you go to, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. Now that's over 8 weeks of training. Now you've increased from 5 kilometers all the way to 9 kilometers, right? Now this is just a really good example, and take this into all the other areas of your training. But what is also going to happen, not only now have you increased by 4 extra kilometers, but over 8 weeks, because you took 8 weeks to do it, you have adapted to that volume appropriately. Like, your body is now used to it. That 9 kilometer run is not a massively strenuous run. It would feel very similar to your 5 kilometer run where you started as far as effort, because you just gave it the steady approach. This kind of approach means that your body is not going to be overstrained. It's not going to be overstressed. Your skills, so your mechanics, your actual running ability has improved with it as well, because it's not an overreach. Now, if you're someone that goes from 5 kilometers, right? This could even be like 3 kilometers of running. How many new people are in HYROX can't even run 1 kilometer, which it's not a bad thing. That's where you're at. But if you're going from 1 to 3 kilometers even, see, that's a 200% increase. That's massive, right? So even that 5 to 9, you can't just expect your body just to go 5 to 9 or 5 to 10, which we see a lot of people do, 5 to 8 even in 1 or 2 weeks. So this is like, I think this is probably the best way to observe it as a concept as well, because we're just talking about running. Now that would just be your long run. Now what also happens in these runs, which could be you as well, is your pace increases as well. So not only are people, we talked about it, volume and intensity. So not only are you trying to run further, potentially, again, the distance is increasing too much, but what do a lot of people do? They don't just go, I'm going to stick to this steady pace and I'm just going to cruise it out. They go also, I want to run it as fast as I can. They want to post it on Strava, right? They want to it's got so many cool features, how you can share your run. Okay. And you want to post your average run pace, and you want to do that. So you're going out there trying to run it as fast as you can, and not even a consistent run. People are starting off like literally just, they get into their run, and then they're building up the pace faster and faster and faster and faster towards the end. So as you're getting more fatigued, you're pushing your body even harder. So the intensity and the strain on the body is climbing, and this is leading to massive disaster. Now, I'm talking like this is like week 1, 2, or 3, where people are highly motivated and they can push through this, and it can feel good, and they can see results. Because if you're someone that hasn't done much training at all, and then you go from 5Ks to 9Ks of running, the example, and you start pushing the pace, you're going to get fitter. Like, you are going to create adaptation. But what is also happening, right, as this is all going on, and now you're starting to create, this is how I get fitter, because you're seeing the results, is the body is actually getting more and more and more loaded, more stressed, right? The adaptation is too quick, right? So now the body is eventually going to go, hey, I can't continue to push and be exposed, I guess, to this kind of intensity and volume this quick a lot of times. So I either need to slow down and like deload a little bit, which could be 6 to 8 weeks of this style of training, or we need to slow it down. But again, what happens is people then create a belief system around this is what is required, which leads into the next point. It's crazy. Even me talking about it on this podcast, it's actually really crazy and concerning about this problem, because then what happens is people start to slow down on their results. So that method, that strategy of just running further, faster, right? Their return now on results slows down. So what happens typically to you, the person who does this? What happens at this point? Well, what happens is the person then goes, I need to run more. I need to run further. I need to increase my volume. That 9-kilometer run now clearly is now easier for me, or is not giving me the gains. I need to run 10, 11, 12 kilometers. I need to run more often. I need to add an extra run in my week. I need to run potentially faster. My average time is slowing down, or something like that. I need to pick up the pace early on, yada, yada, yada. We can see this is a common thing. So again, the body is getting stressed. It's slowing down its return of result because it can't handle the speed of increasing intensity and volume. But then our psychology is we need to do more because we're slowing down. That's what it feels like. And again, who's hybrid, who's HYROX athletes? Resilient, determined, motivated people. That's why we do it, right? I made a comment to this on one of my coach calls. I'm like, we're not playing chess, right? We've all chosen a hard sport because we like hard things. And if we didn't, we'd probably sign up to, I don't know, playing chess, being an Uno champion, I don't know, something like that. But we chose a very physical, demanding sport because we love it. We love the grind. We love belting it out. But this is where it leads to a huge problem of burnout. Okay, like this should be so clear. It should be so clear. And to some way, shape, or form, right, you can probably resonate with this. Now, we're just talking about running. Now, let's talk about strength training. Let's talk about actual HYROX training in the gym, like doing HYROX sessions. I'm not going to go into the details like I just did there on running, but we can take the same concept. What happens when you're not getting stronger? You're not making those gains. You typically lift more. You add more exercises in. So many clients do that. It's always the feedback. I feel like I need to do more. I'm like, I feel like you need to do less and do less better, right? And we're going to talk about what better is and how you can do that. HYROX training. Like, we do, if you definitely should be following us on HYROX Fridays, we do our big HYROX session. So it's like, I don't like the word simulator because we don't simulate HYROX, right? But what we do is we do replicate the length, the volume, the intense, performing over 60 minutes of time. We have a lot of break and we do things very different to a simulation, but we do this once a week. We do a real hard, big session once a week, where I know lots of people who are getting into HYROX and they feel like, to get better at HYROX, I got to do more very specific, like simulation type work to HYROX. So again, training intensity is super high, super long, and they believe in order to get better, I need to do more of it, right? More of it. Just like the running, just like in your HYROX training, just like your strength training, right? You're gonna, and then there's those three key elements, right? So then if someone is thinking, I need to run more, I need to do more HYROX, I need to do more strength training, like, God hope that you don't have a job. Like, imagine if you also work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. Throw on top of that, Jesus, are you someone who has kids? Are you someone that's in a relationship? Are you someone that has a dog that needs to go for a walk? Like, you know what I mean? It's like that, all of those extra things, right? Also layer on, because if you're working hard or you're working all the time, or if you're emotionally drained, or if you've got to commit to other things, like there is only so much time in the week. So the burnout not only comes from, are we physically loading our body up way too much because we're doing too much all the time, but we're also human. Like 99.999% of people doing HYROX are not paid professional athletes. So you should not expect, as a normal person, right? When I say a normal person, someone who, works a job, has other commitments, right? And HYROX is not your paid source of income, okay? You need to not then put the expectation, the pressure on yourself to train like that type of person, right? And to do it all in 2 to 3 weeks and intensify everything so quickly. So when we're looking at this, it really comes down to a lack of proper training structure. And why is there a lack of proper training structure? Well, there's a couple reasons. One of the reasons is, like, it's not your skill set. Like, you're not a coach, you're not a personal trainer. So you only know what you know, right? So that's no fault of your own. You're doing the best you can with the knowledge you can. And when you have, a limited amount of knowledge or X amount of knowledge, you're just going to do the best with it. So for someone like me to go, you need a, proper structure and you need to do this more intelligently, but, running faster, running further, it all makes sense. And I don't blame you for that. That's why this discussion is not, are you doing anything wrong? But are you someone that's burning out? Are you coming to these problems? If you are, we're shining a light on it. If you're listening to this podcast, you're educating yourself, which means you're going to learn more, which means we can actually put these structures in place. So your knowledge gap, right, can be one reason, right? The other thing is that you are someone that wants to learn. You are someone that's, you want to absorb this information. Now, how much information is there out there? There is so much, right? Let's go to Instagram. Let's go to influencers, online, YouTube. There is so many things out there that can confuse you. And as a coach, I'm going to tell you right now, as a coach, right, there is not one way to do everything. There is no right or wrong, right? Like, if it gets you a result, right, and it, is working, and, there is no negative effect from it, then it's a great thing that you're probably doing, right? So as a coach, I'm always learning. But what's also really important with this idea is it always depends, right? As an individual, who you are, your situation, your life, right? Your strengths and weaknesses, your training ability, your physical ability, your mental ability, it all matters. So advice that we give one person that works perfectly for one person might not work perfectly for you. So we really have to understand that with all this information out there, it always needs to be, but how does this apply to me? Why is this the right thing for me? And that's why we always need to understand, like, you more as an individual, right? And that's, even when people, and I spoke about this on other podcasts as well, self-comparison and all these things where we're always looking to what other people are doing. And then we potentially thinking, we're not doing enough, I need to do more. Well, it's not always the case, because what will work amazingly for you, right, might only be training 3 days a week, 4 days a week, doing 2 runs a week, right? And 2 strength sessions a week, where someone else that, is not enough. They have the ability to train 6 days and they get amazing results on 6 days. But but that person also might not have kids, might not have many other commitments, and has a lot more time free. So of course that makes sense with them. And then it also comes back down to then the reality, your expectations. Am I wanting to be a professional, or am I wanting to do this because I want to go, under 1 hour 30? Well, if that's the case, then why are you trying to compare yourself to John, who trains 6 days a week and is killing himself, where you can go very easily under that hour 30 mark, under that 1 hour 20 mark, by training 4 days a week, 3 days a week, right? So that is also, the confidence and knowledge that we need to build into, because you might be well on track to achieving your goals, but you will, I guess, do too much, put too much pressure on yourself, and it will actually sabotage the very thing that you're looking for. Okay, so there are a couple of points. I'm going to move on from the burnout. So hopefully this is very, very clear, okay, for someone who is burning out. Now, how this impacts performance and health. So let's look to the science, because if you are burning out, okay, well, how do I know if what I'm doing is truly burning out? Because what can also be happening is you could just be used to it, right? This just might be your new normal, and you don't truly understand the impacts it's having, or truly the signs. You're ignoring them. And again, it's not actually realizing what is available. You might be, there might be so much more performance, there might be so much more gains available to you, but because you don't allow the body to recover, because you don't give it space to adapt, because you keep training and overtraining, it's going to have, impacts on your health that you might not fully recognize, because you've just been able to just deal with it and manage it, right? So short term, the clear signs: fatigue, poor performance, okay? Plateauing, stalled progress, okay? If you feel like you just haven't really been able to, and this was actually me, about a month ago, I increased my training probably a bit too much. And again, we find that line, because it's always a line, and that's why you always have to observe. And I just found that my running just wasn't getting better. It was staying about the same. I actually got a little bit sick, and it stalled for a bit. Then I just changed it up. I actually did less. I took 1 session out of my week, and also one of my runs I put for a bike ride, because I'm doing a lot of running and it's just a lot of load on my body. And then I made that little tweak. I felt a lot better. But then my running now has continued to make progress again. So these are the signs that if you're stalling and 3 weeks go by and you don't feel like you're making progress, you've got to recognize that early. You've got to make a change somewhere. Long term, what are we looking at? Emotions, right? Emotional burnout, resentment towards training, and even this is where niggles and injuries will all start to come in. Because even if we're doing something poorly, right, we can get good at doing bad things, right? Some bad habits. But long term is where it shows up. And again, sort of like I said earlier with, this idea of training a lot, is we create beliefs. We then create, a understanding that this is how we get results. And later on, it's clearly not. And, emotional, you're going to be having mood swings. You're going to get irritated very easily. You're going to feel like not wanting to train. You're going to start to feel like your love and your interest for hybrid, for HYROX is dwindling. You're going to start to be like, oh, the race doesn't matter. And you're going to start, it's just your general being, your general mindset, your general attitude towards training yourself, racing, is just going to start to go down. This is a sign, right? That it's not a sign that I'm just getting over it. It's a sign that you're doing it in a way that is not sustainable. It's not enjoyable for you. And the pain of doing it now is greater than the purpose or the reason why you want to do it, that goal. So, we have to slow it back down. We see it all the time. People I just need to have a break. I need to recharge, unwind. Well, it's like, why does someone need to really just have a break, recharge and unwind and get that motivation back? It's because they've been doing it too hard, too long in the wrong way for them. They're doing it in someone else's way, not their way. So, Hybrid Heroes, we coach people, we train people with this. Even myself as a coach for 18 years, I've been working one-on-one with people for so long. And this is really the difference between, jumping on a program and then working with someone one-on-one. Is a program, you need to kind of be able to manage yourself a bit. It's like, here's the framework, here's the plan, right? Awesome. And I'm going to go and follow it. Where one-on-one, someone then has to, pull you apart and, shine a light on all these other areas. It's why in our Hybrid Heroes program as well, just a little plug here, we create multiple programs. So we have like beginner, intermediate, advanced, because I understand that one program doesn't service everyone. But even in our programming, we only do it it's like $22 a week, right? We still offer coaching because a program alone just can't give you all that emotional support, someone to talk to. So I say this not to plug our program. I say this because even in our programming, I know it won't work unless you can have a little bit of support along the way. So if you feel like, you're just doing it hard and you got no one to support, to talk to, you feel like you're alone in this, right? You might fall into this, burnout trap very easily. You need someone there that you can reflect with, that you can talk to with. This might just be a great friend. This might be your head coach at the gym that you train at. Just being able to talk to people and bounce ideas off people. It's even the podcast, theoretically. What are we doing? We're having a conversation. And these are conversations we kind of need to have. And hence why I listen to podcasts. I do it all the time. If I'm ever struggling with something, I'll try to talk to someone. But if not, I'll listen to conversations on YouTube, on podcasts, and all that kind of stuff, because it helps me understand what I'm dealing with. And this comes back to the person who is willing to develop themselves to, growth, right? Having that growth mindset is really, really important. Okay. So what we have shown as well, right? So overtraining isn't an actual thing. Well, of course, we've just spoke about it, right? What it's so clear. But, so just some research, right? I'm just going to throw some numbers at you. So the European Journal of Sports Science in 2013 did a study. But, it can decrease, right? Overtraining syndrome, it's an actual syndrome, can decrease performance by 15 to 20%. Research shows 15 to 20%. Is huge. So I highlight this because we overtrain because we want a better result. We want to get better, but it is shown to decrease your performance by 15 to 20%. Just let that sink in just for a moment while I have a quick drink. Overtraining, training more to get better, decreases your performance by 15 to 20%. Guys, that is huge, right? So Damien, what are you telling me? I should just take it easy all the time? No, right? And this is where, right? Again, having a great program, a great structure, and I'm going to share with you as well the key to our program design that you can do right now, that you can do it, right? That will help you understand this, right? Because there is a line. We want to find that line where we can maximize intelligent training. We can push to the right intensity. But then, we might creep over it a little bit, but we'll see those signs and we can creep it back. But we just can't overstep it massively. You can't just overshoot the mark. This is where it leads to everything we spoke about, right? So not only when you overtrain, you can decrease your performance by 15, 20%, right? But you can increase your injury rate. Increase your injury rate by up to 50%. That is huge, right? Runners, okay? I spoke about running at the start. If you increase more by 10% a week, you're probably overdoing it. So 5-kilometer run, 500 extra meters is all you need to increase. How many runners out there? Shin splints, hip pain, foot pain, ankle pain, leg pain, these runners' injuries are through the roof, right? Because new runners coming into a sport where you got to run, people are running a lot more, injury, boom. Right? But it makes sense because if we increase too quick, if we overtrain, we're 50% more likely to get an injury, right? It's crazy. Right? Your sleep quality will also decrease, right? So it's been proven and shown as well that overtraining will decrease that. I know even with me, when I've had a huge week and I know, all right, this week I've burnt the candle a little bit too much, I've overtrained, my sleep drops. So I'm needing more sleep to recover, but then my quality of sleep drops. So you see how overtraining has such a negative effect, right? Now, I'm going to share the secret. I told you I'm going to share the secret. And if you're here at 29 minutes into this podcast, you deserve this secret. Okay. Now, the secret is, and this is what we do, what I do when I look at all my programming, and it's what the best coaches do in the world. And it's so simple, right? All my athletes should know I say this because I say it all the time. The word is repeatable. Being repeatable, repeatable, repeatable. I'm going to be repeatable right now. Repeatable, 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 repeatable. What repeatability does, right, is it allows you to find a pace. Why is pace so important? Let's look at HYROX. 8 kilometers, 8 stations. You got to pace yourself over the event. And that pace allows you to get through it as quick as you can. If you think of a marathon, you don't want to sprint the first kilometer and then walk in the last kilometer. You need to find a pace. This is known as the quickest way, right, to get from point A to point B. You got to find the appropriate pace. Now that's in a workout in a session. Now let's talk about a week of training. Do I start the week doing 3 sessions on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, and then, absolutely falling off by the weekend? No, you have to then do a bit of training regularly across the week. That's your weekly pace. What does your month look like? It's pacing. It's all about pacing, pacing, pacing. What does your year look like? So forth, so on. It's all about pacing, e.g. sustainability. So when we're talking about a workout, and I'm talking about like if you're going for a 5K run, I want to see each kilometer the same. Repeatability. I want repeatability. If you're doing strength training and you're doing bench press, I want 4 sets of 8. I want each set to be the same. Repeatability, right? If you're doing a AMRAP, as many rounds or reps as possible in a 15-minute workout, and you've got 3 movements. You got to run, you got to deadlift, and you got to kettlebell swing. We want round 1, 2, 3, 4 to be repeatable, right? Understanding how to be repeatable means that you can then create accurate data to know your pacing and to know what you can sustain, which is, I guess, your true level of fitness, and what you can't sustain, which means you're overreaching. If you can't sustain an effort, so you're going for a 5-kilometer run and you run at 3-kilometer pace for the first kilometer, and then you can't continue that pace and it drops off to like 5:30, if you keep trying to run 3 kilometers, you're going to burn out. Like, it's overreaching. But if you can hold, let's call it 5-minute pace, 5-minute pace, 5-minute pace, 5-minute all the way through, that means it's sustainable, right? And it means it's, and it's also measurable, because it's like, well, you can repeat it, right? Which means it's not overreaching, because if we were to say do it 5 times, is it 100% effort? No, because if it was 100% effort, you probably could run that 3-minute kilometer, but only once, right? So that's 100% effort of your running ability. So I would say that 5-kilometer pace is 80%, right? It's lower intensity. So when we think, I'm not going to bore you too much with getting too much into it, but we have to understand the concept of repeatability then allows you, right, to figure out what is the appropriate speed intensity that you must have. So that's why over a week, don't kill yourself on Monday. Just do a good session Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, throughout the whole week. Now, can I do the same the week after? Can I do the same the week after that? Can I do the same the week after that? E.g., holding all the same paces, all the same intensities, and maybe making just that slight little increase. And the only way that we know how to make that slight little increase is because in week 1, we displayed repeatability, which means, I know exactly what I did in week 1, and I'm going to slightly increase it in week 2. If we are not tracking data, if we're not being, if we're just going for a run, starting off, warming up, and then smashing it towards the end, if we are doing workouts and we are not observant of our pacing on the rollers, on our round times, on any kind of sort of metrics like that, we're just going out there and just training as hard as we could or we can, then we are creating you're guessing. You are guessing. So how do we know how to increase by 5%, 10%? You don't. It's all based on effort. Now, effort is a feeling. And if we just go on feeling, you could feel like you're training really hard. That, perceived rate of exertion could be sky high. It could be a 9. It could be a 10, right? But your performance can actually be diminishing. So this is the art of repeatability. All right. hopefully we understand repeatability. Now, I'm always up for a discussion on this. So you can always reach out to me, send me a message, send me an email, get in touch with us. If you're a client of mine on the training app, I'm there to talk to you and to look at your workouts and help you with repeatability. Because this is the key. We do this with beginners, right? This method is a must for beginners. And this method is what every single elite level athlete does, right? The people in the middle are the ones that stray away from this, because when you're a beginner, you kind of have to be a bit slow, right? You can only go so fast. But it's once you start to get a little bit of fitness that people then get excited and they do too much. We call this, the intermediates. This is probably where the biggest problem lies. And then people learn this. Once they learn this, they become advanced athletes. Like, listen to that. Once you learn the art of repeatability, you will become an advanced athlete. That's how important it is, right? Now, we do this concept across everything. We do it in our nutrition, in our sleep, in our training, in everything, in our running, in our HYROX sessions, in our skill work, in our development. Repeatability is the absolute must. And then obviously as we peak to a race, the race now, inherently, and that's why I said as well before, don't like simulations. Why? Because a simulation is a non-repeatable effort. Race day is non-repeatable. We don't ever want to train in a training session at the intensity we do in a race, because you can't replicate it. You can't replicate the adrenaline. You can't replicate how deep you are going to dig, right? Because only a race can provide that. But in training, we can get as repeatable, as accurate as we can to performing at those levels, but still in repeatable ways, which means there's always more to give. And that's why we need to then make sure the body is deloaded, ready for race day, so it is ready for action. It's that simple. So, and that's why, when we're looking at all our top level athletes that we train, because we have to be so attentive to the data, so we know how to push them, and we know exactly where that line is. We get to the point where, we're working with a couple of athletes now and they're running. So on their interval runs, they're getting to the point where they're doing 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off on the treadmill. They got to do it 8 times, right? So we can see when they drop off by 1 second, 2 seconds, right? Because they're running at 305, 305, 305, 305, then it goes 306, 307. 307, 307. What happened there? Couldn't sustain it, example. See how it's only a couple seconds of the pacing, but that shows that we're finding their limit, right? Their limit. Whereas, if it was always, what that person looked like to get there, but was 320s all the way through. Also next week, 315s for all 8 rounds, and 310s for all 8 rounds. Then we tried 305, 305, 305, 306, 307. Oh, now we're understanding your limit, right? And this is very important, because now we know where we need to spend more time for that athlete. Because if we then just try run at 3 minutes and try go 255 or something like that, we're now overreaching, because we're not applying the law of repeatability, right? Huge one, guys, huge one. I get fired up when it comes to repeatability. All right, guys, we're going to jump into some more action points here. All right. How do I incorporate repeatability? It's simple. Start tracking and managing your data, and you'll start to see it. It becomes so clear. It becomes so obvious, right? If you don't know how to do any of this, right? Hybrid Heroes. It's what we do. We do this for a living. Is we have now a training app, the Hybrid Heroes training app, that you can get access to, where we have all of these program designs. We got programs to help you get ready for HYROX. These are our HYROX ready training programs, beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? So essentially a 4-day-a-week, 5-day-a-week, and a 6-day-a-week training program, right? It's the perfect program for people who want to get HYROX ready. Running, strength training, HYROX sessions, all structured, all laid out for you, all done for you. You just got to go out there, listen to your coach, and you'll get ready for HYROX. We also have, because some people don't need the full HYROX training program, so we also just have run training programs. We have programs that incorporate that little bit of increase, that get you, that allow you then to be repeatable, right? To follow a structure, so you don't overreach and burn out and do all those things. So we have those run programs. We have strength training programs there as well. Again, people who are doing the running, doing the thing, but I need to get stronger. We have that, as well as we have our, only we provide this. I don't know anyone else who provides this. Is we have station specific programs. So if you have a weakness on a certain station, which I know everyone does, we have a specific 12-week program specifically designed to work on those weaknesses, right? In a smart, intelligent way, right? That's the key point here, right? So if you want to jump on, link is down below. You can get on to it right now as well. Jump on quick, got 25% off all programs, right? If not, you just listen to these podcasts. You jump on our social media. We have a free school group as well, which I'm going to put down below, online community, where we post tips, insights, right? We just post information that's going to help anyone complete HYROX. But again, our app is then for the people who really need that structure done for them. Why? Because again, maybe you don't know, or you want something that's better, right? That is definitely proven. Guys, huge episode. I really appreciate, without the listeners, without you guys listening and supporting, like truly, we don't have anything, to no one to talk to. So really appreciate it. If you have questions or anything like that, jump into our free group at worst case scenario. And I would love to hear from you and for you to comment and, ask questions in there. That allows me then to understand what information to put out. But if you really need training, help and support, jump into our app. I'd love to help you. You can buy them outright, the programs, once off, so it's yours forever, or you can subscribe and get everything. We really just try to provide the best, highest value, right? The most affordable pricing, because coaching shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg. It should be affordable and it should get you great results, and everyone should win from it. So guys, keep training hard, keep being repeatable, and I'm going to see you on the next episode.